Sair da escola já com uma formação profissional no currículo? Parece bom demais pra ser verdade, né? Pois é. No ensino técnico do Senac, isso é possível. É ensino médio junto com formação técnica, que acontece durante os 3 anos. Lá, eles usam metodologia para projetos, desenvolvendo competências como resolução de problemas, pensamento crítico e colaboração, além de valores éticos e sustentáveis. Quer saber? Senac. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino médio e saiba mais.
She never got her due. She's a big lesbian and a loudmouth Jew. With her gasket always ready to blow, you're listening to Judy's show. Who? Judy's show. Wait a minute, who are you talking about? Oh, she's an asshole. What is wrong with you? Oh, you suck. So long. Fuck off. Welcome to It's Judy's Show with Judy Gold. I am your host, Judy Gold, and this week we have part 2 of my great, amazing interview with Heather Thomas, which gets, this part it's really interesting and talks about her advocacy, and she's really a fascinating human being. So, and she did tell me I'm a great interviewer. So, anyway, I want to thank everyone. This past week, I had a shitload of shows, thank God, because, it's so good to be working. But we had the National Coalition, the National NCAC, National Coalition Against Censorship. I'm on the board. We had the gala on Tuesday, and it was fucking amazing. I was hosting, and Noam Dworman, who I had nominated for the Entertainment Award, got the Entertainment Award, and Colin Quinn gave it to him, and it was so hilarious. And I got to read, messages on the comment cards that get sent to the Comedy Cellar, and one of them said that I was homophobic, and it was hilarious, because you know how homophobic I am. And then I was at the Weitzman Center for National Museum of American Jewish History in Philly on Thursday, and it was sold out, and it was so much fun. Liz Glazer opened for me, and we went to Michael Solomonoff's restaurant, Zahav, for dinner, and he invited us, and it was Michael Solomonoff is just the greatest guy. Go to his restaurants, go to Laser Wolf, go to... I could ring the whole bell. I'm doing that just so I don't have to ring it the whole time. But yeah, amazing and so generous. They cooked for us, and it was so. Thank you, Michael Solomonoff. What good? There's good people out there doing amazing work. And we talked. We talked about how the anti-Semitism has affected his business and his friends. It's really upsetting. I'll get to that in a minute. And then I was in Aventura on Friday. What a great crowd, the Aventura Arts and Cultural Center. And it's just great when I get to see friends that I haven't seen. Leah Sutton came, and she used to run this place called Green Street down in Soho, where we all worked, Susie Essman and Joy Behar and all the, and it was one of these small rooms that was so great that, when I was starting out, and it was just, so it's just memories. I can't believe I've been in this business for over 40 years. And then Boca Black Box, Randy Singer, he owns it, and it sold out on Saturday. It was just so much fun. So, and then I took a 6 a.m. plane home so I could see Ben play basketball, which is always a treat, even though they lost, but he's such a good shooter. So we have some great podcasts coming up, and lots of basketball to go to. I'm very light in December, which is great because, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired. But on December 4th, I'm at Gotham Comedy Club in New York City for the women's authors event. That's going to be a lot of fun. Scheduled to do Stephanie Rule on the 6th. So, yeah, a lot going on. And of course, my a very Judy Christmas Christmas Eve at the New York Comedy Club on the Upper West Side. Oh, Stamford, Connecticut, New York Comedy Club, December 11th. So, go to my website, judygold.com, follow me on all the whatevers, and I always have links and linky link. So, links of sausage. So, kosher. So that's that. I also, I just want to say that this week has been really kind of horrific as far as anti-Semitism is concerned. And I'm very, I just want to validate, everyone's feelings. And thank you to all the people who listen and come up to me after shows. Always come up to me and tell me you're a listener because, I don't know what impact my nasty rants have on people, but it's, you write to me and it's just so nice to know that I'm not talking into a black box of, or not that it's bad that the box is black, but I meant, whatever, into the nowhere. But what's gone on in Montreal this week, what's, gone on, it's beyond in this beautiful Chabad rabbi being taken and killed. What happened in Tennessee? This locksmith went to do a job and was killed. Went to do an emergency, job. This rabbi, what's his name? Zvi Kogan, a Chabad rabbi who was an emissary, was killed in, I think he was Abu Dhabi. He's from Abu Dhabi, and he was killed. Anti-Semitic terrorism. They found his body. That there was signs of a struggle. It's just, and Iran is behind this. I just don't, these people are good people, trying to spread, good, whatever. So that's that, we're not safe. We're not safe. The Jews are not safe. It's really upsetting. I asked my audience, do you feel different? Yes, they all feel different. It's a lot. And let's not sugarcoat it. And, we have to just keep having hope and fight. And yes, all your feelings are 100% validated by me. And I think, knowing that there's other people that feel the same way is also really helpful. But the anti-Semitism, the misinformation, the idea that Jews control everything. We are 0.2% of the population of the world. We're not even 1%. We are 0.2%. And you think we're so powerful? Maybe that's because we contribute a lot to the world. That maybe it's because we have Tikkun Olam, which is healing the world, which is whatever. It doesn't matter why. It's that it is, and that we are a race of people that you want to erase, and we're not fighting. We're not going anywhere. But it is scary. I don't know how that came out of my mouth. It is. Also, we could talk about the end of democracy as we know it. I feel like, thank God that motherfucking pedophile's out, but whatever, I don't know what's going on with the Democratic Party. I don't, MAGA it's going to blow up, and at some point, which, I keep saying, but who the fuck knows? I can't believe he's just, these picks are ridiculous. They have disdain for the departments. They're, like Robert Kennedy Jr. Let me just say something, and then you can listen to my wonderful conversation with Heather Thomas. As I might have mentioned, my great uncle, Dr. Joseph Goldberger, cured pellagra. My friends always make fun of me because I talk about him, but he also was part of the, and look up pellagra. It was a disease in the South that he cured. He worked a lot on vaccinations and fighting, epidemics. And I believe in vaccines. I don't want to see polio come back. I don't want to see, everyone with, measles and rubella. And I think it's rubella. Is it MMR? Yeah. Whatever. It's like we keep going backwards. Like, cut the shit. But we'll see what happens. But I'm telling you right now, as a registered Democrat, I'm not happy. The far left sucks. They suck. They suck, and that's why we're here where we are, because of the far left, and we keep pandering to them, and they suck. Anyway, that's it. Oh my God. I don't know where you are, if you're on your treadmill or you're taking a walk and, or, you're trying to sleep because, my voice is so soothing, but please sit back, relax. Also, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I'll wish it at the end as well. And being with their families, and a happy Black Friday, and buy all your shit now, and blah, 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 blah. And anxiety. Sit back, relax, and enjoy part 2 of my conversation with Heather Thomas. As Jody Banks on The Fall Guy, you become famous, as we talked about, by being, you play a stunt woman, but you're really become this iconic figure because of female objectification, yet you're this very brilliant, smart, and you're aware of this. You're completely aware that this is going on.
Sometimes they'd write me dumb blonde, and I kind of get pissed about that.
Right.
I didn't expect, I'm not saying she was like a Rhodes Scholar, the character, but I didn't like it when they tried to write me too cutesy, because that wasn't her personality.
Did you push back on that?
Yeah, a little. I could mess with the lines after a year or two.
Right. During your time on the show, you became addicted to cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And
everybody was.
At that time,
we had a closed set for a reason.
Right. Yeah, I remember Fen-Phen. People were on Fen-Phen.
Fen-Phen was more a mom drug for mothers older than me, but the blow was all, it's not addictive.
Right.
That was the message. And luckily, I got off it at a very early age.
Did they pressure you? I remember I was on
myself there. My family was concerned, and I went because of my family.
I feel like you probably have dealt with so much misogyny on so many levels.
So much. You have no idea. From professors, from everybody in the business. If young women could see what we put up with.
Oh, I'm a comic. The shit I had to deal with in the 80s. And then I was just like, fuck you. I am a comic. So I was like, go fuck yourself. Fuck you.
Yeah. And you couldn't say fuck you to a certain amount of people. You couldn't say fuck you.
Right. You couldn't, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were the days where it was like, you learned at a very early age. First of all women still learn this at about 10 or 11. That men are looking at you like lions looking at Paula. Yeah, and then everybody's just handsy at Christmas time. Everybody's handsy, and you got to avoid, in those days it was like, avoid Bob's uncle because once he gets 2 drinks, you better run. It was like that, and we grew up that way. We
absolutely did.
Dancing away. And a lot of times when it was your employer and you had to learn how to duck and weave and you couldn't hit back. You could not hit back. If you wanted to make money and survive and continue in the business,
you had to compartmentalize.
You had to dance away from. That's why all of a sudden with Harvey Weinstein, all of a sudden there's like this avalanche of women that had famous women that had previously said nothing because you couldn't upset the balance of power. You wouldn't work. You would not work.
How did that work with Lee Majors? Was he notorious? I mean, I've read.
Yeah, you ducked and weaved. You ducked and weaved.
Right.
Lee taught me a lot. I'm very grateful for him. He helped hire me. So I always have respect and love for him. At the same time, everybody gets a little loaded and they get handsy in those days.
Yeah.
Everybody did. Everybody did.
What?
From the producer to the grips. You have to,
Oh, everyone. Yeah. I mean, when I think back to the shit and it was just like, okay, great, fantastic.
And they didn't think they were offending you. That's another thing. It was part of the culture.
Right.
So it wasn't like, I'm going to go dominate this woman. They just didn't even think that way.
Right.
What I didn't like about it was in my day, they made the woman responsible for the man's reaction. Like, why were you there? If
right.
Or what were you wearing?
Right. They still do that.
Yeah.
When Me Too came,
that's like women are responsible for the man's reaction.
Right. For the man's behavior.
What I see in these stupid fundamentalist, religions where women have to be a certain way so that the men don't react a certain way to make the men comfortable or to make them not hurt them. You have to be a certain way so you won't be hurt. Fuck that. Yeah.
When the Me Too movement came out, I know that I was like, oh, good. And then part of me was like, I feel like because of what we dealt with, I felt like sometimes it was, all right, calm down.
Well, that happens with every movement, like how the peace and freedom movement turned into don't trust someone over 30, had nothing to really do with it. Or the women's lib was about burning a bra. No, it wasn't. Or, and Me Too, there were people that went way too far. And I think a lot of the He-Man culture now was where you see young men that are angry that grew up with women, pointing fingers in the toxic masculinity. There is some toxic things about masculinity, but not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And to go overboard on it is you're just somebody who's looking to blame a lot of shit on people.
Right.
I don't get offended if someone says I look good in a dress.
Right.
If someone's staring at your tits and says I look good in a dress, that's different. But to get so highly offended by stuff that should be benign. I should be able to hug a guy.
Right.
And not have him say she's approaching me in a sexual way. It's really funny. My girlfriend was a ceramicist, and she hooked into Beatrice Wood, who was the mother of Dadaism. And, she we would go see her. I said, I want to definitely go. There would be like 6 of us who would go up to Ojai and meet Beatrice Wood.
Wow.
Because she was so amazing. And she was 105. We were up there for her 105th birthday. And we were talking about, at the time I was on the board of the Rape Foundation, and we were talking about how sexuality and violence is getting combined a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we literally had girls in school say their boyfriend would beat them up if they weren't, allowing them to go to third base or something.
Right.
And at that point, she said, well, it's because nobody square dances anymore. They took it out of schools. And I went, we were all thinking that. And then she goes, no, listen to me. Men and women, girls and boys could touch each other in a way that wasn't about sex and wasn't competitive. And she said it was something that they had to do in cooperation. Like I got my youngest had sensory integration issues that vanished by the time she was 4, but I put her on a pony because you had to cooperate with the pony and empathize with the pony. And it was a cooperative relationship instead of a dominating relationship. And I wanted her to learn that and feel that in her body. And she became like this baller of an equestrian where she was a jumper. She was a maniac, but she was really good. And no fear. But what Beatrice Wood meant by the square dancing was we've got to get back to that, where when something's sexual and when something's not.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you see, I kind of call it the California work ethic, where you get an employee and the first thing they want to know is what's in it for me? What can I do? And not the team thing. And a lot of times you get women taking offense to stuff that it's like disempowering if that's what you're going to complain about.
Right.
When there's so much more like workplace equity. How about fair wages? How about fair hours? How about equal promotion? Important stuff. And they said, "Oh, he looked at me wrong." There's a whole thing about that.
I 100% with you.
And it makes you seem trivial and stupid.
And yesterday, we're recording this a few weeks in advance, but yesterday, was the 50th anniversary of women being able to get a friggin' credit card.
Yeah, and you know what? The country hasn't signed on to ERA yet.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. But now we're dealing with these weirdo revisionists that I swear to God, the tech bros and the Russians are going to kick them to the curb while Elon Musk opens up our country for our enemies and everybody takes a bite.
Yep.
That's what it's a hostile takeover by billionaires and our enemies.
That's 100%. After your family did an intervention and you went into recovery. It was before there was Betty Ford. It was just right.
Standard hospital recovery program. Boom, 30 days, I was fine.
And then you get your life together. You get married.
My life was pretty much together.
Yeah,
it was just together with
drugs,
with blow.
Yeah, and you get hit by a car.
Yeah,
which
I wasn't married when I was
you had
divorced.
been divorced, right? Yeah.
Well, I got divorced. I went to Sri Lanka and did a movie there while I got a divorce. But I got hit by a car and that slowed things down.
Right.
Not a long time though. I was on my feet in a month.
Wow. Again, the word resilience comes to mind.
Well, I was young. I mended very fast.
You gave up acting in 1998 because of stalkers and because you were a mother to girls.
Yeah. It wasn't like I said, I give up acting. It was just, I'm not going to take those jobs right now. I needed to be home also because there was 1 year where I was home 2 months of the year. I needed to be home. I had 2 little girls. Their mom didn't want to be a mom, and I needed to be home. But also, there were stalkers everywhere. The posters.
Yeah. So, can you tell me?
Just hang in 13-year-olds' bedrooms. They also hung in probably jail and mental wards and stuff.
how did they, I mean, for people who are not pre-social media, I mean, I can't imagine what you would have gone through had there been social media at that time.
Yes. But at that time, there were no stalker laws. And I got to tell you, stalkers can fixate on someone on a dishwashing liquid commercial. It didn't have a rhyme or a reason. But at the time, like I said, there were 3 networks. So I laugh so hard when they say something's a hit, 12 million people watched it.
I know.
35 million people watching every day. Or 35. It was about, if you got below 35, you were in trouble. So there was a collective consciousness, more of a collective, and in a way that was good, but in a way that was bad because it was so limited what you could see.
What did you do?
And all that, but the stalkers would get inspired. There were no stalker laws, and basically you had to call the cops when you could.
Were they all men? Were there any women?
Nope, no women.
All men.
Michael J. Fox had a woman stalker that was really dangerous.
Yeah. How would the police react? I mean, again, we talked about this, women being gaslit, women being questioning what their instincts are saying. Yeah.
It was a different era. I shot a guy with a sawed-off New York City police city riot gun, and the cops never reported it. Yeah. You could do stuff in those days. In the 80s.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And that's a good thing. But the guy was in my bedroom, so sorry.
Oh my God. How fucking scary is that?
I was used to it by then, and I was just watching him cut the screen. It was my fault. It was a sliding glass door, and it was a nice.
It's not your fault.
It climbed up. I didn't think someone could get up on that balcony, and I was just, and it was like, I have a gun, and just reaching down, pulling it out from under the bed, and then I actually had time to prop it against the headboard so I wouldn't hurt myself. It was good, and then. Yeah, it was full of rock salt and birdshot, and I took a chunk out of him. But I was really worried I was going to hit my parrot because I had the parrot at that time.
Right.
So afterwards, I'm jumping out of the bed going, "Are you okay?" And I hear somebody moaning. I'm like, "Not you." And I'm looking at the bird. Are you okay? I didn't hit you, did I? Okay. But, hilarious. In those days, so I started living with a bodyguard. This great guy, John. I raised him from a pup. He was a bouncer that I trained into bodyguarding, and then I basically turned him into a nanny for my other girls. But he would just uppercut the guys a couple times. They'd pass out. He'd push them out the window and call the cops. Or when I lived here, the worst was this guy who kept sending me these really sick misogynistic imagery scripts. And at the time, I was trying to cut down a script. I was on a deadline, and I was like, how can this fucker send me the perfect amount of pages I'm looking for? And, because I was trying to cut it down to something. Anyway, but he would send me it was something, he thought that I was schizophrenic like him, so I had a connection to the demon world. And it turns out he spent the night in front of my house in a sleeping bag. And then he climbed the gate one day. And at that point, I had 2 Bouvier de Flanders, if you want a good guard dog. I had a female that was 140 pounds. It was like Christmas for them. He had a Bowie knife like this, way big. And he went to the female got him. She was the dangerous one. That was the funny thing. The female got him, snapped the arm in half. The male cracked his femur, and then Muffy, and her name was Muffin because my kids named her. So Muffy had him by the throat. She was just going to shake him. And my bodyguard at that point, John, ran up and went, "Muffy, no." And she sat down like a good girl. And the boy sat down, "Ruffy, no." And he heave-hoed the guy out the gate because he didn't want him bleeding out on the property. And one of Gavin the Becker's guys picked him up. But it
unbelievable.
It happened a lot. I had a lot of restraining orders, and it was a lot of that stuff. But it went with the gig, but I didn't think it was healthy for kids. And also, I was gone too much.
Right.
I needed to be somebody needed to be in the house.
You wrote a screenplay, which
I wrote a couple of them.
Yeah, fantastic. You wrote the novel
I
Trophies.
sold all of them. I sell everything I ever pitch.
Yeah, you wrote the novel Trophies in 2008. You're an author, screenwriter, and an advocate for sobriety, mental health, stricter anti-stalking laws, the environment, and
I was on the board of the Rape Foundation for 30 years, but I lobbied when there was a time period, when we went to war, when all environmental regulations were getting, destroyed, and it was super. Everybody was pretending to be conservative, and we said, why are we raising money for these senators? And they're just going along with what the Bush administration wants. This is crazy. Right. And so it was Lori David and I think Elizabeth Wyatt. She was married to Jim Wyatt of ICM at the time. And I joined their group. What we would do, we were all bundlers for these guys. I mean, I had been on the Democratic Finance Committee at one point. And what we do is we would go to Washington because we couldn't the NRDC couldn't get in to talk to them about bills. They just couldn't even get on their schedule. So we would smuggle in scientists to these senators and they'd say, hi, they thought they were meeting with a bunch of women who were just excited to take a tour of the Capitol or something. Right. And he'd say, yeah, I'm here to talk to you about this bill because no chemicals are ever being tested in America because they were grandfathered in 1976 and the onus is on the EPA to prove they're dangerous. We think that should be flipped. And and here is the world's leading toxicologist to talk to you about it. And that's what we would do.
Wow. That's amazing. Lori David, by the way, was my manager for a little while. She's great.
A lot of comics in New York.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I feel like we have so much disease now. Cancer is rampant. Also, autism and all these other. I believe that this is all from the environment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think
I drink out of glass bottles. I have since.
Right. The plastic is ridiculous.
I drink out of glass.
Oh, I like that.
Expensive as fuck.
When I see.
I spend more money in water than I do booze.
But when I see, I go to people's homes and they have like 20 plastic bottles of water. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get a water filter.
In the 80s, I knew someone who graduated with me and she was in breast cancer research at UCLA. She said the Petri dishes, which without heat are leaching. It's the softening, it's the BPA, right? The softening agent that they put into plastic. And bisphenol A and whatever the chemical is, but it's on the inside of like a Coke can.
Yeah, they said that it's everywhere.
We tried to get some stuff banned and fast track all the safe chemicals so we didn't create a giant clog. But Obama didn't want us to do it. He said not because you couldn't mess with business at the time. Business is always it was a recession.
Yeah.
I think you could, if it wasn't a recession, I think you could start to introduce a bill that gives a tax break to companies that choose not to use these deadly chemicals, but no chemicals get tested in America.
Right.
They don't, because the onus is on the EPA to prove that they have 90 days to prove that a chemical is dangerous. And the most insidious thing is they have to pronounce that chemical safe.
Right.
When the new chemical is introduced, they have to pronounce that chemical safe if they can't prove it. And it behooves companies never to do their own tests, because if there are any findings that it's dangerous, then they can't get it passed. So we have to get rid of a lot of American myths. People think regulations are like their mom giving them an unfair curfew. Regulations are there so you don't get hideous cancers and birth defects.
But also
regulations are there so you don't, make species extinct, which causes a collapse of the house of cards that is our environmental systems, biodiversity, that will eventually cause. They have to go back and get new corn seed plasma from the rainforest every year because they've jacked it up so much. I don't think wheat has even the same molecules as the wheat we ate as kids. It's highway grasses. And what nobody's dealing with is how powerful Monsanto got. I think it's because Obama wanted to win Iowa and he made Tom Vilsack the Secretary of Agriculture. That was the deal. And because of that, and I love Obama, but at the time, the man had a giant crisis. He was taking care of the Bush people were such greedy pigs that they destroyed our economy. And he was trying to keep us all from going, belly up dead.
It's funny when you talk about
but Monsanto got all their people into government in charge of food.
It's funny that you talk about regulations like that, and then yet they want to deregulate everything except for control over a woman's fucking body.
I know. But the thing is we have to rethink what regulations are. We have to be adults about it. What they're counting on is a knee-jerk, childish impulse, a male impulse. They even feminize regulations. They call it nanny state.
Yeah.
Fuck you. We don't want to, poison the water because you see what happens in Flint. That's all over America. There's so much chemicals in
I know.
Yeah.
Before we go, I could talk to you for fucking 10 hours. But there's two things I want to address before we go. First of all, the fact that you advocate for turning struggles into advocacy, turning your struggles into changing the world and making it a better place instead of just sitting in your shit.
Well, I try to be useful.
Yeah, but I love that.
I'm a very good Indian. I don't have to be a chief. I'm very good at what I like to do is say we're like the purging, which is actually relevant right now.
Right.
Because the friggin' Supreme Court allowed him to purge Latino sounding names off and black sounding names. It's a totally racist purging program off the rolls. And they're saying, they were illegal. No illegal aliens are registering to vote. It's bullshit.
I know.
And the fucking Supreme Court just allowed it. And I'm scared that they're going to do an avalanche of this. So we'll see.
Please, they're so compromised. Okay, this is my favorite thing about you.
You just got to vote in numbers bigger than they can purge.
Yes.
But that's why I don't get purged. That had that website because nobody was mentioning it. And the public needed to be aware of purging. Now they're much more aware. But it was so easy to get back on the roll. And the collective thinking was, don't scare the voters. I'm like, get them back on the roll.
Right.
And how easy it would be. But those people that are purged now in Virginia can't get back on the roll.
Ugh.
It's illegal to purge within 90 days of an election. He had 4 years to purge those voters.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. There are no illegal voters. And the fact that they have created a myth with no evidence and the Supreme Court is reacting to that myth these people are compromised. They're basically criminals and they're bribe whores and they need to get off the court.
Can you tell me, complete left turn here, about your Phyllis Diller paintings?
Phyllis Diller, I met her. One of my friends was friends with her. And as I learned that she auctions off her paintings for charity every year. And she lived in the neighborhood.
She was amazing. She was a concert pianist and a painter, like a fucking great painter.
I've got great paintings in my house, watercolors, not oils, but I've got a bunch of her watercolors, and she gave me one feather collar that was hers.
Oh, you lucky. That's awesome.
I used to throw this ladies' Christmas party, which I might start doing again, but it just became too much of a bacchanal to...
I'm coming if you do it again.
COVID happened and all that, but it also was kind of like, let's all spend a bunch of money that we should be donating. Anyway, but I used to have this ladies' luncheon where one of the things was you could go out and dance with a really cute guy on the dance floor.
Right.
And I'd have these great Latin dancers, and it was really fun. They were from the conga room, and Phyllis Diller came to the party, and she looks at those guys. She goes, "What do you do with them? Do you take them upstairs?" And she was just so fucking funny.
She was hilarious.
She was giving to her last breath.
Yeah.
She sold her paintings. Some of them I bought. Some of them she gave me. She just lived around the corner. You run into people, and you're grateful you ran into them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heather, you are a delight. You're a bright light.
You're a very good interviewer. You had more information on my mom than anybody.
Well, you're interested. I mean, I like to do. We talked about due diligence. That's why I love interviewing. That
It's a good job.
Thank you, Heather. I'm gonna. Laura, you better save that clip about me being a good interviewer. Thank you so much for listening to part 2 of my conversation with Heather Thomas. It's Judy's Show with Judy Gold is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling. A shout out to Colin for being very patient with getting my podcast in. Whenever I travel, I can't get up in time to, have the podcast ready at 9 a.m. on a Monday. So thank you, Colin. Marketed by Haley Dircher. Thank you all. Thank you to my listeners. I am letting you know that my future guests will be people it's not going to be, maybe recognizable names, but it's people that I think you should know, authors and people I'm really fascinated with who I think can help answer your questions and give you perspective about what the fuck is going on in this world. So please, thank you for your, subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and left a review, please. I know it's going to be tough Thanksgiving. The holidays are coming up. A lot of families with differing political views. And you know what? I'm of the school of thought that you don't have to be with your family if they make you uncomfortable. And if you don't want to, I mean, there's friends, there's other people. Why put yourself in that position? Like, go do something for someone. Go volunteer and then have a friend's Thanksgiving shit. Life's too fucking short for you to be uncomfortable all day. And so do not feel guilty, please, about anything. Please continue to speak out about anti-Semitism. Please. You know, the people I haven't spoken to a lot of people since October 7th. And actually, that's not true. We had a few days. Remember, we had a few days where people were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then it all just fucking turned on a dime. But we hear you. Your silence is very loud. We see your posts. And it's really fucking sad that, you know, people in this country have no nuance or critical thinking, that two things can be true at the same time, and that you've jumped on the fact that you gave people more credit than they deserved, it's really upsetting. But there's a community of us that is well-informed and feeling the same way. Reach out to those people. Please send me, DM me on Instagram. I try to look at all that, or Facebook or whatever. Please, you can say whatever you want. You can vent to me. I get it. This anti-Semitism is shit. It's just getting worse. There's places we don't feel safe, and it's not fucking right. And I'm validating everyone's feelings. Validation. So go buy shit this week that you don't need because it's cheap. And make yourself feel better, because you deserve it. And I love you all. Thank you all for listening. Thank you. And as we always say, so long.